Hello, Internet. This is episode 13, I believe, of Radio on the TV podcast. We are here today a little early. To my right, I have, you know him, you love him, it's Papa Chainus, DJ Lightbright.
That's right. Thank you, Connor. Glad to be here.
He's finally able to be sober for us today.
That's right. Here we are.
In front of me, he's dressed like a Smurf, Michael.
What's that?
Wrong camera, Jake.
Oh, the Smurf thing caught me off guard.
And today our guest is going to help us with having a bit more of a serious conversation today. We have Theresa Pore. She has come to join us, talk about organization in Williamson County, just on the edge of the Austin area. Break the Silence.
Yes.
Theresa, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah. So your organization is, then the most generic way to put it, provides resources for children who suffer from domestic abuse.
Yes. Yes. However, specific to sexual violence abuse, yes. Our pillars are awareness. So we're trying to make the message clear that it is still a problem and not just something that happened long ago, but it's still happening today. Education for families, and then empowerment to get past it.
All right. Now, while that is
something, so we decided we're going to do something, and we had the idea of doing a family 3K. Actually, it was a 5K, and none of us run. So we were like, maybe we'll break that down, do a 3K, and make it a family event. And that's what we did. We kicked it off with our Break the Silence project.
Was that the very same one I came to talk to you at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what did you think about that?
It was actually nice seeing not just y'all's organization, but all the, I guess you'd say, partner organizations who were there with y'all.
Right.
I'd never heard of BACA before, BACA.
Yeah. Were you there? Were you there when they broke the silence with their bikes, revving it up?
No, I had other stuff to do. I had to leave after a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, it's good to see on a local level organizations that are, I guess the best way to put it is, more in tune with the local community and being able to work together to get this kind of stuff addressed.
Yeah. What we found was there are these organizations that kind of they do stuff in the dark. Like, you don't know that they exist until a problem comes up, right? And in our family situation, we didn't know that any of these resources existed. We knew about BACA because who doesn't know Bikers Against Child Abuse? Like, they're amazing. But I didn't know about Williamson County Child Advocacy Center, or even the Center of Exploitation. I can't remember. I'm saying it wrong. But who shows up when, your child goes missing? All these different organizations, they all work together in tandem behind the scenes, but nobody's really going out into families and bringing families together and saying, hey, this is what we do, this is who we are, and that these things really happen, and let's break the silence together. So it was so fun to pool all these organizations together under one pavilion, and I wish you would have been there for the motorcycle thing. It was so
That sounds
fun.
rad.
It was.
Sorry, when you got a full day planned out. Jake, is something up with my mic? I keep hearing the static.
We're getting some feedback from some electronic device. That's just unfortunate. Until we get the big bucks, we'll have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Oh, $1,000 on this system wasn't enough?
No, that's video system.
Heard these bikes, and I was like, that's what we need to help us break the silence. We need kids and families to know that it's okay to make noise. And so we had a moment of silence at 10 a.m. And as soon as that moment of silence was up, I turned to BACA and said, let's break it. And they revved it up. It was an emotional, it was amazing. And it was a great way to start the event.
Is this related to the big biker rally that comes through Austin, or is this totally independent? Just the Austin area bikers come and help support?
Man, they do all kinds of stuff. make sure you love on your bikers because
Oh,
they
yeah.
do all kinds of stuff out there in the community. But BACA is Bikers Against Child Abuse. And one of the cool things that they do is when a child becomes a victim of any kind of crime, they will show up on their behalf and be like a wall of protection between them and the
Right.
perpetrator. So it's really, really cool. So having them involved in our Break the Silence event was powerful because one of the lies that kids are told from the beginning during a sexual violence type in the grooming process of how people hurt kids is they tell them nobody's going to believe you and nobody's going to listen to you and you can't tell anybody this. And so for bikers to be there and say, I got your back, and for moms and dads and family and community to stand up and say, I've got your back, that was powerful.
It's like a superhero almost.
Yeah.
You got a biker behind you.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah.
those are the real Avengers out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's pretty awesome.
So getting back to your Break the Silence, the organization. So how do y'all go about, what are the resources that y'all want to provide and how do y'all provide it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So initially we were like, we're just going to have this event and raise awareness. But what we learned in working with families and one of the things people don't know is 1 in 4 women are victims of sexual violence and 1 in 12 men are. 1 in 12 men too. People don't talk about that. And especially for men. And so for Marcus to be part of our group, he actually was a victim of sexual violence. He shared the story.
Just real quick, just for anyone watching, Marcus was going to be our original guest that y'all got us in touch with, but he said he had a sick kid and had to pass on showing up today.
Yeah.
I hope
Well,
she's doing okay.
It's a bummer. I'm glad I got to be a pitch hitter for him, but his story is amazing and heartbreaking. And I think that's what helps us really raise awareness is from the age 5 to age 15, he was sexually abused by a very close family member.
That's a long
And
time.
he never broke his silence until he was like 35 years old. And at that point in life, he broke it for relief for himself, like because of the trauma and the torment.
Can't carry that alone forever.
Yeah.
You'll live in that mindset forever.
Yeah, and he did until he broke it. And in fact, it was a really, really touching story. So I would encourage y'all to go to the Break the Silence movement website and our friends that are going to watch to go there as well and hear about his story. But it's not always that big, right? Sometimes it's something very little, but to the victim, it's huge, right? And so our goal is to, number one, create events where conversations can start around, okay, if this happens, this is not okay. And in Marcus's case, I think he said he was in 6th grade in sex education when he first learned that this was not normal and that it wasn't okay. So, kids are going to believe kind of what they see, and that's really scary. So being able to stand up and say that's not okay and make them aware of it in a safe, fun, healthy place is huge.
So how typically do victims find a way to get help these days? Like, how did Marcus himself have a way to reach out? Who helped him?
So he, ironically, in his story, he was at the end of his rope. Like, he was done. He had actually tried suicide many times just because of the torment in his mind. And on one particular day, he posted something on Facebook to the tune of, the person who's supposed to love you tells you that you're worthless. There's a problem. And that was going to be his goodbye letter, like on social media. That was going to be his goodbye letter. And as luck would have it, a friend of his that grew up in his neighborhood reached out to him seeing that post and said, Marcus, I saw your post. I think I know what you're talking about. Let's chat. And apparently she was a victim from the same perpetrator.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Shared her story with Marcus. And she said, you know what? I've never told anybody, but I'm going to the police on Monday and I think you should go with me. And so he did. And that was how he broke his silence. And from there, it became a whole series of Hope Alliance was an organization that got involved. And because they work with adult victims, Child Advocacy Center works with child victims. But they got involved. And Marcus has really allowed this really horrible situation to be a launching point to help so many other people.
Definitely. It's amazing how things can be turned to use for such good from such pain.
Yeah. Absolutely. And bravery, oh my gosh, how brave, he had to be to share in that moment and to now speak about it. I mean, he speaks about it, and I know he says, when I go to speak about it, I have to ramp myself up and then take myself down, like therapy both ways, because trauma, it's like pulling a scab off of a wound, over and over and over again. That trauma resurfaces. So our goal with Break the Silence is not only just to give people a place to have awareness and talk about it, but also bring in resources. As I was saying, we can talk about something and somebody's going to feel empowered. Like you hear somebody speak about something and you're like, yeah, that was me, right? And so you speak up. But now you've ripped a scab off of a wound, and who's going to help you beyond that, right? So our goal with Break the Silence is to bring all these resources into Taylor, which is the eastern part of Williamson County. It's also about 30 miles from its closest resource. So that means when a family speaks up or something happens, they have to drive all the way like 30 miles to get help. So we want to bring that to Taylor so they don't have to.
Yeah.
It was just this past week. I think I mentioned today's episode to my supervisor. When he started telling me about the Menendez brothers and like what caused them to essentially snap and kill their parents. Like the stuff you're talking about is like, I'm going to try and avoid being graphic with this, but essentially their dad was abusing them every night before dinner, and they would have to just like throw so much lemon on their food to kill off all flavor. Let's just say that.
Goodness.
Yeah. I mean, hearing that they killed their parents, kind of hearing why they did kind of makes you a little sympathetic. I'm not trying to be dark about it, but good Lord.
Yeah, that's yucky. And unfortunately, it happens so much more than what most people think. Most of the time, it's swept under a rug. And we learned that at our event that, I hear the number of 1 in 4, but when you have 350 people at an event and you start counting and you're like, okay, 1 in 4, 1 in 4, 1 in 4, that's a lot of people who have probably never said anything, because only 1 out of 10 will actually admit it. And most people don't admit it until they're 50 years old, unless perhaps they snapped, right? Or, something along those lines. And when you don't ever let it out, it's just tormenting you. And I'm sure that's what happened there. And that's so sad.
So as far as for like people who have gone through such traumatic events, how often, or some people repress those memories of what I've heard. I don't understand what that would feel like to think when does it resurface, and how do you deal with that? Do you have people that come
question.
Do you mind if I take this one? I mean, I am my history is tangentially related, not the way she's describing what they're going for. Mine was more just straight up domestic. So it can come up on you at any time. I mean, just for the last few days, I've been through years of therapy, and the part that specifically treats PTSD, it was actually originally created to help veterans when they come back from war, to rewire their brains so it's not as bad.
Wow.
So it just comes up at you whenever, and it doesn't necessarily just always go away. I mean, you're never going to get rid of it. I mean, Mike, you're a welder, and you're familiar with trying to fix a break in some steel, but your fix will clearly leave. How would you describe it? Like if it looks like it bubbles out, or essentially, you know what I'm talking about. So like you can fill in that gap, you can grind it down to smooth out, put fresh paint on it, but that's still going to be there for a long time with you.
Like a scar or something.
There you go. Scar.
Yeah. I'll say I'm a victim from childhood a couple of times, and my child was as well. And that's really one of the things that got this started with Break the Silence. But I will say what happens mentally to us is when you're between the ages up until about age 7, those are programming years. So everything that happens to you goes into your subconscious mind. And then from age about 8 to 15 are our identity forming years. And so when sexual violence happens during those times, all this stuff is going into like filing cabinet of your brain, right?
Yeah.
And you have no idea, just like what you said, you have no idea what's going to open that drawer of that filing cabinet and pop it up. It could be, you hear something. It could be that you have a vision for something for your future, and then you're like, oh, but what if somebody finds out? Like all of those lies that you've kind of self-medicated with,
Yeah.
right? Essentially start popping up, and it is super difficult. So I would say for anybody that, has gone through any trauma, one of the worst things we can do is to say, get over it. Because you don't just get over it. You work through it. You see therapists, you learn different ways to deal with it. And perhaps one of the things that I like to do is remind myself I was 13 when it happened. And so I like to go back to that time in my mind through meditation and say, okay, at 13 years old, I saw it this way. At 42 years old, I see it this way. It's a different situation, and it doesn't have control over me anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for different therapy reasons, we deal with things differently, just the way our brain works and our mind works. But I would say absolutely get help and support. And that's what, if you're an adult, Hope Alliance can help with. If you're a child advocacy resource center can help with.
Excellent.
But also, this was related to the question you were asking earlier, just a moment ago. It's like a big part of, like, I guess, like the best way to describe it, why people don't speak up about their parents having done stuff. It's not just that it's been normalized for them. It's like, essentially, it's Stockholm syndrome. Like every kid just naturally gets Stockholm syndrome from their parents, because it's not that you're in danger, like what we hear about, like with a bank heist or something like that. It's that this person is responsible for your life, and you have no choice but to trust them.
Right.
And so it gets you into this. Like it wasn't until in my 20s when I was able to break through that in therapy and realize that this was not something that my parents, it was not something that they should have been allowed to do.
Uh-huh.
I think so many times, and I'm sorry you went through that. That's really hard. So many times you don't know what you don't know, and grooming is a big thing, whether it's your parents or somebody that a lot of time, anybody with access, really. And as a kid, we rely on adults for a lot of things, right? And that grooming process happens, and things, gradually happen. You hear about a door that gradually opens up and things slowly start to come in. If that door flung open, you would feel the shock of it, and you may be like, oh, there's something wrong here. But when it slowly opens up and things are slowly allowed to happen, you don't catch it, especially if you're a kid, right? Because you trust the people you're with. We want to believe that everybody is good and healthy and doing the right thing, but that's not always the case.
Right.
You've been awfully quiet over there, Mike. Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm learning. It's a learning cast for me.
Usually you're the one with all the questions in these episodes.
Yeah, I had to live. That's all I'll say here.
All right.
Some serious topics here.
It's very serious talk, so I'm just learning.
I thought I saw that 1,000-yard stare.
Beautiful.
That's just a term for people who go through it's not really a official term. It's just like colloquial for someone who's having a moment with PTSD, where they kind of like go off into another space in their head.
Possibly.
And it's
they try to just disassociate. Maybe, I don't know.
That is
this is a difficult thing to talk about, so I don't know how to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
So I've never been through therapy or anything like that, so this is a weird conversation for me to have. So, like I said, I'm just learning.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people are probably feeling that way, that are going to hear it or are listening to it or will hear it in the future. And I think one of the best things I can say to you and to anybody is that you're not alone, and that we work through things, and that there are resources available. There absolutely are. Yeah.
Why do you think people don't want to talk about it?
Well, one of the things that happened to me and that I find, hearing Marcus's story and all that is we wrap it around in an emotion. And a lot of times the emotion is shame and guilt. We internalize things when they happen to us instead of really seeing what happened. That person that hurt us, they have ownership over that. We don't, but we internalize it and it happened to us. So it's rightfully so that we do that. But I think unfortunately, because we become the victims of it, we suppress it and suppress it. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to talk about it. Talking about it brings up the rawness of it sometimes. But, when we don't talk about those things, they control all of our decisions and our emotions. If you think about that filing cabinet again, every decision you make through life is going to filter through that filing cabinet. Every single decision.
Right. And then sometimes, like y'all were saying, like, it won't, y'all be in the, you know what I mean? And so, for me as a person, I have never talked about that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I normally, it's kind of just push it down, whatever. You know what I mean? You'll get over it eventually, which probably isn't the case. But I mean, I guess people talk about it when they want to talk about it, I guess. Or
Wait, Mike, are you saying you have one of your own stories?
No.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Just double checking.
The statistics are is that most people won't say anything, and if they do, it'll be like age 50 before they bring it up. And that's a long time to carry a wound, right?
Yeah,
otherwise, we're like a lizard that lost a leg or a tail, and we try to grow it back, and we try to make everything in life fit around it. But when we look down, it's still missing.
Yeah, you got like almost like only you can see.
Yeah. And you protect it because you don't want anybody to see it.
Exactly. And then you just kind of, and then some people will salt the wound and not even know. Then
but you remember the doorknob.
Yeah, exactly. It's like those little things, those little moments. I don't know. It's like you go back in time. You know what I mean? And then it makes you feel so small and helpless yet again, which is terrifying to think about. But because it's in your mind, you know what I mean? It's stuck in there, and it's not like you can put it on. It's not like you can like put a movie on and be like, it's like this. You know what I mean? It's really hard to put the feelings into.
You can't
words.
pause it.
Yeah, and you can't pause it, and it's ongoing, and then like, I don't know. Sometimes, how do you get out of it? How do you think people get out of it? Like, how do you get back into reality?
Well, it depends on what you mean reality is for that person. That's like she was saying, like, a lot of this starts very early on, and it's all you've ever known. So to get out of it, it's hard to even imagine for that person what getting out of it even means in the first place.
Right.
Well, yes. And I think one of the things that I've decided for myself, I tell myself I would not hold my 13-year-old self hostage to a situation, right? And so when I think about what happened, I go back again to that moment and say, yeah, that was wrong. And that happening in this moment.
Right.
Right. And just acknowledge that it existed. And one of the most freeing things I did was I did start talking about it. My husband, hello, he didn't know, but it affected so many things in our relationship for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And therefore he was a hostage to it too.
Yeah. So it's not like it just affects you. It affects everyone around you.
Yeah.
It's like your actions aren't your own, or let's say their actions aren't their own. And stuff like that. That seems, I don't know what the word.
No, that's a good way to describe it. It's like there are times where I didn't feel like my actions were my own, and everything was just straight up instinct and survival mode, just to get through certain moments, and I had no idea why I was going through that.
Are you familiar with? There was psychologist Maslow was his name, and maybe in high school you learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Have you ever heard about that? You're nodding your head.
I learned it, at
All
local
back.
community college.
Yeah.
psychology class.
I didn't
Yes.
go to enough high school. I think I missed that. I think I missed that class.
I think
He's
I
still
slept
working
in
on
high
his
school on
GED.
it.
Yeah.
Well, this may play into that. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
the baseline of our basic human needs is number one is safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you were talking about a few minutes ago of, I'm safe, I'm okay, was the first part. Yeah. And that was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did you keep the secret until you told him?
So I was 13 years old, and I did not really tell him much until we were like 24, 25. But then I didn't really tell him much until I was like 38.
Oh wow! So that's when you were able to fully get it. Do you think that also you weren't able to tell until that age because it's like a block? Like your mind was didn't want to process it, or your mind didn't want to go there, and maybe if you never acknowledge it, it will never be
Seen?
yeah stuff like that.
Maybe that's a lie we tell ourselves.
Yeah, obviously, but do you think there's a reason why it took so long, or do you think it just
I think I didn't want to face it. And I
Yeah.
think most people that deal with some kind of trauma, they struggle with facing it because we're afraid, right? There's
Yeah.
that fear factor that comes in of, am I going to live it all over again?
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the truth was I didn't live it all over again. Literally, the handcuffs came off.
Oh, really? It was like a weight lifted off your shoulder.
Complete weight.
Yeah, it lives with you. You don't live through it again.
Mhm.
And it's a good thing, so many, if we all trying to provide these resources, just to let them know how to, or at least give them some information on how to
Right.
deal with it,
Right.
instead of just letting it stick with them for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of got lucky with mine because it was actually by accident. So when I was 19, because it was difficult for me to hold a job, so we went and registered with. It's no longer. It got merged into some other state government organization, but it was to help provide people with conditions and disabilities, being autistic. And they were going, so I got registered with them for a year's worth of funding for just to find skills to develop through my autism.
Okay.
But it was the state essentially providing funding for a therapist, which we were then able to. So they had me in both individual sessions and group sessions, but those individual sessions evolved into dealing with all this. So if it wasn't for the state of Texas funding it, I don't know if I would have even gotten to where I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you had an opportunity and you felt safe. Right. And that goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you can get to a place where you feel comfortable and that you're in a safe place, that somebody can help you with that information instead of whatever else is going on in our mind about what's going to happen when we break our silence. Right.
Right.
And that's what we are essentially trying to create for these families is a safe place so that, not only, again, it's scary to rip the Band-Aid off of anything.
Yeah.
It's really scary. But if we can surround you with love and a safe environment and the resources of people that are capable of having these conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody is capable. One of the things that Marcus posted about yesterday on social media is he said, when I tell my story, sometimes I hear people say, well, get over it.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to say to somebody when you have zero empathy because you have no context to what they're going through. Right? It's easy to flippantly say something to somebody, but it can do a lot of damage.
Yeah. And then some things that look like ant hills to some people are like mountains to others.
Absolutely.
And it's I think that's a very interesting thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not to say like one person's weaker than the other. Like, just because it's a mountain to you doesn't mean, you know, it's easy for the next person. And that's not to say that it's easy for them because for that they're stronger than you or whatever reason.
No,
it's
yeah,
just
you
saying different you know, apples and oranges. You know what I mean? Everyone's different in their own little way. And that's what makes us all unique.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
like a basic tenet in child psychology where it's they'll tell you it doesn't matter if the siblings or if it's your own children. No, even if it's your own kid, they are not going to be the same or have the same capabilities as you will. So you can't just assume that whatever you went through, they'll also be able to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have one kid that's handling just fine, then that doesn't mean the other one will either, and they're going through the same thing.
Right.
To give you some perspective, I'm a total nerd when it comes to like psychology stuff. So I'm gonna just
Sigmund
nerd
Freud.
out on you guys for a minute.
Awesome.
Yeah.
To Sigmund Freud our ass.
It'll be a test.
Don't insult her like that.
So one of the things that I recently learned, and I love sharing with people about differences, and mainly in communication, but at any second, our brain, our subconscious brain, is going to filter 15 million bits of information in any second. But our conscious mind can only handle about 40 bits of information. And so all four of us are in the same room, and our subconscious minds are filtering these 15 million bits of information, but narrowing it all the way down to 40 bits of information. It is 100% impossible for us to see things the exact same way or to experience things the same way.
Wow. That's a good way to put it. I like that. That's
right?
nice way.
We're going to be friends now, huh?
You got to get one more thing in before you can get that far with Michael.
Ah.
He's got another pastime that he has to keep behind closed doors.
Oh, okay, well. No shame, no game. Okay.
You got anything, Jake? Now you're the one being awfully quiet.
No, I had to take care of some tech stuff that was happening in the background. Don't worry about it. Our stream is good.
Sweet. No, can't have a crash like last time.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes that happens. We had a little internet outage for a half second there, but we got it connected to something strong. But don't mind me. Tech support in the background.
Do you guys remember Pearl Harbor?
Where are you going with it?
The movie Pearl Harbor? Do you remember in like it's on the second tape because I have it on VHS. It's on the second tape and they're like flying, and they're getting shot at by the Japanese and everything like that. And then it goes to like where Evelyn is the girl. And she's like listening into the radio, and they're like, "Clean that up, clean that up." I feel like that's Jake's, like, you know what I mean, like cleaning up the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Like you can like, it's like I feel like there's like a wave bar, and like you see it, and he's like, "Oh, there's gonna be turbulence here," you know.
That's
what I mean?
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for being that for us.
Oh, yeah. No problem. This is my nerd style. You do the psychology, I'll do the tech.
That's awesome.
We'll have a show.
That's awesome.
So, you've given us some of the statistics, like, so, but one of the things, curious, like, how often is this stuff? Is it just like, oh wait, before I get into that, I should probably also, going back to an earlier comment about how no one speaks out or how it's not as spoken out about. It's not just the people directly involved. It's a lot of times the community, it's an open secret. And a good example is the same boss I was telling you all about earlier. He actually has this one story where if it wasn't for his parents recognizing what the priest wanted when he was asking to babysit him and his older brother when they were kids.
Wow.
But the thing is that he's never really let his parents get away with was how they said nothing. And their thing was they didn't want to embarrass the church about it.
Yikes.
And it's not just that. I mean, have any of y'all heard Dax? He's a very recent.
The rapper?
The rapper. He's very recent. But a lot of his music does center on the same theme where it was an open secret in the church what the pastor was doing.
Like Spotlight.
What?
Like Spotlight.
What are you talking about?
The Boston Globe Spotlight article that exposed all the Catholic priests
Oh,
back in like 2000. What?
the mid 2000s.
Yeah, 2000.
No, this is just like his personal stories. Like I don't know if he suffered through it himself, but a lot of it centers on the fact that was a thing happening back when he was a kid and no one said anything.
Yeah, that's what the Spotlight article's about or whatever. The one that I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I never read it. I just watched the movie with Mark Ruffalo. I'm a big movie guy.
I like Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
I like him.
So I think, again, back to earlier, it happens anywhere there's access. And a lot of times anywhere there's control, right? And I'm not necessarily saying anything about churches, but it can absolutely happen in a church. It can
it's
happen
anyone
in a
that's
daycare.
an authority figure that
Yes.
decides to just take advantage of it.
And as children or even as adults, you trust the people that that you've submitted authority to, right? We all submit authority to somebody, and so we trust those people. And if there's some manipulation can happen anywhere, and it is really, really sad. But we are sexual creatures, and and it's a drive, and some people haven't learned how to control that. And if they've got manipulation in their genes or anything like that, it can be a really harsh sickness, and they need help.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I just thought of. There's this one. He's a YouTuber / anchor. He's the head of this news company on YouTube. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. He's talked to many people in QAnon, trying to ask them why they believe there are all these powerful people that why they believe would be involved with this. And the number one answer he always gets is that because some authority figure was either did it to them or someone they know. So these people aren't just like believing this stuff out of nowhere. I mean, there was from what I've heard, it was like just rampant, like in the 70s and 60s, and I don't know if it's come down as a percentage or rate since, or I don't know. It was definitely not talked about as much back in the day.
I think it's been a problem since the beginning of time.
No, yeah, that is definitely obvious.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be a problem if people learn to speak up about it. And, that's one of our initiatives, is to bring awareness to the fact that it does happen. And I think now even more, because of the access to technology, the manipulation happens in different ways. Maybe it's not physical in touch, but it's still through technology. I mean, there's a lot they can do that's damaging to adults and kids via technology. And they don't think it's the same thing, and there's an innocence to it, but there's really not an innocence to it. It's very damaging. And one of the partners that we had speak at our Break the Silence event is from the Attorney General's office. And she talked about, self-produced porn and things like that. But from a kid's perspective, that is huge. It's rampant. It's crazy, from as little as 4 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
4 years old. And she did say, too, that producing that is producing pornography. And if you're under the age of 18 and you're producing, then you are producing child pornography. And it's a felony. Like, you can go to jail for it. But those little types of things end up being gateway things that lead to others. So when I talked about that open door earlier, a very crack in a door can lead to a very wide.
It takes a lot to give me an upset stomach, but I think you're getting there.
Trying not to, but yeah.
I know. Oh.
Hopefully bringing aware to this will help, remove some of the upset stomachs for future generations.
Yeah.
This next question is just like half a joke. Like, how much of the ability to have this conversation came from like Chris Hansen on To Catch a Predator? Like the way that all this stuff can now be, all this technology can be used to like go even further with this or make it more secretive.
Well, I'm not familiar with the context of what you're saying, so break it down for me.
Well, I mean, you remember the show
No.
To Catch a Predator?
I never saw it.
With Chris Hansen?
Oh. Essentially, when was it back on? The early mid 2000s, maybe the 90s a little?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Essentially, it was when chat rooms had really become a big thing.
Oh, okay.
And so what they would do is, like, it kind of was a bit entrapment, but it was essentially like someone was on there and they would pretend to be an underage, and then like if they would talk with somebody, and if that person started going down this route, but they kind of made a reality show out of it. And
Interesting.
and when the person would show up is when Chris Hansen would come out from some hallway in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then they would have cops
Ready
ready
arrest.
outside.
Yeah. You know, so your question was how much?
I'm wondering like how much of that like really opened up the conversation about this, because it put a national spotlight on it essentially.
Sure. You know, there's other national spotlights on it too. You think of that Jared guy from Subway, right? And you know, some different things too. I think anytime something big, number one, it creates awareness that you know it's a problem, but number two, it creates awareness for somebody to do something stupid. Right. And so, yeah, gosh, I don't know. But I think, again, the more technology we have, the more access people have to doing things.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
What was it, Mike's microphone?
Maybe.
My phone might have was going off. Astro game started. So I want to go back and talk about, I guess, if it's okay with you, you talked about how this affected y'all's relationship and whatnot beforehand. So how would it, and how did you react? I guess if you can take my seat if you want, but
he doesn't do microphones.
Okay, well then maybe you can speak for him.
Sure.
My girl does that for me all the time.
Okay, good. She's a good girl.
Yes, especially when I'm afraid to order. I don't know why, but yeah. So how did it affect y'all's relationship? So like, was there certain things that he would say or do that would like maybe trigger you, and like and then how would y'all go about that? Would he be like, oh, what the hell did I do wrong? And then you'd be mad for like an hour or 2 hours, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
And then you have to come back and apologize.
I usually apologize a lot.
Yeah, I apologize all the time.
He's like,
sorry is my favorite word.
You know, I think for us, it affected us very big sexually. That was our biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because I would have flashbacks, and it that what a way to ruin a moment.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure.
And so a lot of times it was like, no, it ain't gonna happen. You know, a lot of control from my part. A lot of when I went through it, what happened with me was it was a lot of manipulation around you do this, you get that. And so my belief around sex with my husband for a long time was, well, what am I earning? Like, you know,
I understand. Yeah.
And it had to get fixed. Right. But in order to avoid that, I just avoided sex a lot of times. Yeah. And so that of course was damaging. I mean, he's a good looking dude.
I know. He's a good-looking dude. He's got a cool-ass name. He's a fresh dresser. I'm not sure what kind of car you drive, but I don't think it matters at this point.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, it was a nice car, and I thought he was the chauffeur for a moment there.
Exactly,
So,
dude. Yeah,
Jake,
so, what a good dude for sticking by you the whole time.
Hold on,
though.
before we do you mind getting on the camera?
He'll
Feel
say
free to
hi.
pop in here and say hello.
Hello.
Let's give a shout out.
Woohoo!
Ladies, he is taken.
Secret Service man over there.
Right? He's been standing. Do you want a chair? Okay. He is kind of like.
I don't think he likes the look of this couch over behind me.
I don't blame him. Canyon's been sleeping on that.
Oh.
So.
Well, they do have to go to church after this.
Oh, okay.
And we just came from church.
I thought
So
you were
there you
going to
go.
do...
Oh, a double header.
I guess I misunderstood what
No,
Marcus
no.
told
I'm
me.
going back. I'm speaking tonight. Yeah. So anyway, speaking about something totally... Actually, I'm speaking about a really cool topic, and that's lifting other people up out of their trauma.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
How do
It's
you
right in line.
How do you do that?
Well, number one, I see him.
Oh, so you're almost like a predator.
Wait.
Goodness.
Hold on.
I was not
Mike,
sure if she was gonna like that joke or not. I'm really glad you did. Woo, I took a chance.
God.
We're still friends. We're still
Okay,
friends.
Cool.
Yeah.
But no, I was just joking.
Well, I think the biggest thing is
So wait a second. Maybe just
Empathy.
clarify. You just said you see them. What exactly do you mean by that? You see them. Like, what does that mean when you do that?
So I think so many people, we just go through life 100% distracted. And we take somebody's response to a situation as flippant and like they just did it to piss me off or whatever, right? Instead of just learning to see the person and you can see pain in people, you can see joy in people. And I think so many times, one of my favorite mentors was Mary Kay Ash, because I'm a Mary Kay girl.
Nice.
Mary Kay Cosmetics. There's my little shout out, right?
Like Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen? Is that what we're talking
no,
about?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little older than that.
The makeup company.
The makeup company.
Okay.
But she would say, pretend that everybody you meet has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important.
Oh.
And so I've taken that on as my mission, is to see people and to see them where they're at and see their trauma and to be still with them. In fact, I have be still tattooed on me because I think we rush through things so often and people feel minimized and less than instead of seen, heard, valued, and loved.
So do you do, like, obviously you do a lot of listening. So how did you, I guess, go from being the victim to now being like a savior almost?
Well, I don't have a messiah complex. So
No.
yeah.
You don't look like you do.
When you've experienced something, you have empathy. I used to manage a bank for many, many years, and I would have employees that be like, I can't come in today. I have a kidney stone. I'm like, kidney stone? What? Get to work. Like, what is that? What is that?
Yeah.
It was horrible until God gave me
described
the
as
gift
the male version of having a kid.
Until I had my kidney stone. And then I was like, oh, dear God, I'm not moving for a
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
And so empathy gives you connection with people. So had I not gone through the abuse myself, I would have no reason to see people in that light, right? Or to help them. Or I just wouldn't have the ability to understand. And then when it happened in our family to one of our children, actually to both of our children, Mama Bear kicks in.
Yeah.
And Mama Bear says, hell no.
Yeah.
This shouldn't have happened. It happened in a very trusted place. It's a really yucky story. The person's in jail, but again, I talked at the very beginning of our conversation. We get motivated by pleasure or pain, and so part of my mission on this is pain motivates you.
Yeah.
Pain makes you do something that you wouldn't normally do, like you can lift a car.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you can see hurt and help it.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who has been through the pain? They've not really dealt with it, but life's okay right now, but they still know about it and they carry it in the back of their mind throughout their life. What would you say to them to, I guess, tell them that it's worth it to get through all of that it's even better than where they are at currently, than just kind of going along pretending, carrying the second life in their closet their whole life, basically?
Yeah.
Because all the work of facing themselves, facing their peers, everybody thinks different things. And then maybe there's still someone out there who abused you and maybe his family and you have to face them, or does legal get involved and all of that. That's a lot to think through. So what would you say to someone who's considering all of that and considering maybe dealing with it but is afraid? Yeah,
it's scary. And acknowledging that it's scary is huge, right? I mean, when you're dealing with something and you don't, it's like one of those things where I know what this is and it sucks, but I don't know what that is. And I'm comfortable sucking for a minute because I don't know how scary that's going to be, right? But I will say that it's never as scary as we think it's going to be. He talked earlier about a mountain and a molehill, and a lot of times we create this mountain out of fear. And really and truly, getting that off of you is literally like 1,000-pound brick getting off of your shoulders. And not everybody is going to go to the police and make a police claim because maybe it was somebody really close that they want to protect. And they look at it as, I didn't put my perpetrator in jail. I didn't want to do that to him. We were both kids and stupid, right? but it was still wrong and I still had to process it, right? So not everybody is going to do that, but those that choose to, number one, you're going to be okay and you're going to be safe and there is help. And if you don't choose to, find that safe group of people through therapy, and there's therapy everywhere. Like you can't even go on social media without seeing betterhelp.com. Like, I mean, it's everywhere, right? And there is help available. There's resources available that will walk you through the steps. And justice is, you're worth it. That's what I would say, is that you're absolutely worth it.
Definitely.
Because your future can't be controlled by your past. And when we don't get these things out, a lot of times our past holds us hostage.
For sure.
So also another thing you were asking, like the difficulty with reporting. Like I said earlier, my situation's different from yours. Like it was more domestic and physical. The number one reason, even into my 20s, like why I could never report my dad for anything, was the rest of my family was still dependent on him. Like I don't think my mom could survive without my dad's job, essentially. All three of my siblings had to go through college, and he was the number one support for them. But also there's the thing, like, in our situation is like it's that whole cycle thing where he got it from his mother, she got it from her dad, and it's just like it was a normal thing that just at a certain point it just became like this is just what is supposed to happen. And so it's just like hard to try and like we were saying earlier, it's hard to try and break through that and recognize that it's not okay, but then you have to be concerned with taking action against them because there are others involved who need that person's help.
It's a lot of layers to try to take on emotionally on yourself.
It is. And
already on top of what you went through.
Yeah. I want to add, in one of my daughter's situations, she wasn't the only victim. And so speaking up for herself was also speaking up for somebody else. And it could have been somebody else. And it could have been somebody else. Like, a lot of times perpetrators, they find that I got away with it this time. I can get away with it again and again and again. And that's really scary. And so, it's a hard choice to make sometimes because of the connection with the people, but you're worth it. And that person needs help. And let the court, in the state of Texas, it's the state of Texas against the perpetrator. It's not, I don't have to go to court against them. The state of Texas is doing that on my behalf. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
Right? Because that can take some of the emotional connection out of it too. But what I think people need to realize is it's not just I'm not just victimized by it. It was a legit crime. It was a crime that happened, and it should be taken care of. Right.
Right.
People don't think about it being a crime because they didn't steal from me. They really did, right?
Yeah.
They didn't break into my car and, junk up a bunch of stuff, but that car can be replaced.
Yeah.
It was a legit crime. And because of that, because the state of Texas recognizes it a crime, we want to do our part and help others and help them, release themselves from it. But it's hard. It's really hard. But the speaking up is so much more for the victim because that victim needs that release from that trauma.
How often do you find from the other side of the coin, those who have victimized others that want to face it? Does that happen? What do they do? That they hurt people in their past and they want to make amends and fix it. I don't really understand how that works other than not doing it anymore, of course, but how do you make amends?
Every situation is so different and it's hard, right? I will say from what Marcus shared in his situation, his perpetrator never once even admitted that she did anything, and so there's that sense of denial, and some of it there may have been a mental issue with that individual too that caused them to think that was okay, right? So there's all kinds of reasons and things like that those types of things happen. I think remorse comes, but they have to admit that it's wrong, and a lot of people won't even admit that it's wrong because there's something in their mind that said, "Yeah, this is okay. This is okay." again, I didn't break into their house.
Yeah.
Right.
But I want to comment on they said they like you they didn't break into your house. They didn't steal anything from you. But I mean, I'm sure like they stole innocence
They stole
from
a lot.
you,
Yeah.
and like they probably stole maybe like a future that you could have had where you didn't have to go through this
Identity.
and stuff like that. Yeah, like that what is it called?
Identity.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Duh.
Yeah.
But I mean, it takes away like a future that you could have had, of the life that you could have had or whatever like that.
Mhm.
But don't you think that how do I put this? Like this suffering, do you think it makes once you get over it, does it make almost joy more joyful? Does that make more sense? Because you know what I mean? Because you went through all that
Because you went
suffering.
through something. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you wouldn't feel joy if it wasn't for pain. Those are
Right.
great words by 50 Cent.
I know him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, when I was saying that in that context, it wasn't that the person did anything wrong. It's
Yeah.
they sometimes don't
No.
admit it because they think of it in that light.
Right. They don't look at it like they did something wrong.
Right.
It's more like
But
That-
as the victim, we, absolutely struggled and suffered with it. But you're absolutely right. I think, and again, until something happens, you don't have an appreciation for the flip side of it,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But we do have to get past it in order for us to have that joy.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's still just a wound.
Yeah.
You said a big word there, identity. They stole your identity. That's a big one. That's been hitting home. They're going over that at church, is just things that you lose about your identity. Lose yourself to yourself, lose yourself to others, and just things that keep on building off the top of that.
Yeah.
So I was really, really connected with what you said there. And that's a hard thing to really understand, maybe how important it is, or even the downstream effects of things that steal your identity.
Mhm.
And just like you said with the door, just small opening will just start to kind of creep in everything else that comes along with it. So helping people find their sense of identity, freeing them from the bondage that just owns them,
Right.
and they don't see the way out. I commend that. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for helping us spread our mission. This is, a big deal for us. And I'm, you asked about the joy being more joyful later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The joy of helping somebody else
Mhm.
almost makes it worth the pain that you went through, like that
Yeah.
I went through, right?
Mhm.
That's hard to say because that pain was heavy,
Mhm.
but the joy is great.
Yeah, it's like pulling someone out of the trenches. You know what I mean? It's probably it helps them, but it helps you
Mm-hmm.
deal with your trauma as well, because it's almost like you're helping yourself as well. You're pulling yourself out of the trenches as well as another person.
So you get stronger when you lift somebody up. You're building muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you're like a superhero.
I'm working on it.
Especially after you've already been shot getting out of the trenches.
Yeah. One thing that you said about identity in church, I'll share with you my story today with our ladies at church, is Around the Gate Beautiful. And that's where Peter and John are walking towards, the temple, and they see the man that's literally laying at the gate, and he's been there for 40 years, right? Every day he's out there asking for help and asking for money. And really, he just wants to be seen. And that's really what it takes to lift him up. And the story goes that, Peter says, "Silver and gold have I none." Like, I don't have any money to give you, but what you need is not money. What you need is the faith in Jesus Christ, and to lift, to be lifted up out of your circumstance and for your situation to change. And so Peter reached down and lifted him up, and the man went walking and leaping. And it was like his identity shifted. Right. And it's because somebody took the moment to see him. That's huge.
That change of awareness that makes your whole life different.
Yeah.
The little thing that lets you see that, oh, this is actually what's going on. It can change you from the inside all the way out.
And everybody around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Connor, what you got?
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of what else we could probably discuss on this topic.
Sure thing, Walt.
I mean, no, that's one thing I'm trying to think, but I mean, I'm having difficulty coming up with more. I mean,
Well, can I tell you what's in the future?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
How people can get involved,
Yeah.
what you guys are doing right now, and where you're going.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Break the Silence Project was the annual 3K, and we were like, it's going to be annual because it was so amazing. We wanted it annually. But at that event, we realized, again, we can't just rip off wounds, scabs off wounds. We need to have this place. So what we're looking for now is we're looking for a place in Taylor that we can house resource centers to come, 3 to 5 nights a week where families can bring their children or the families can receive their own counseling services there, and they don't have to travel into the western parts of Williamson County where it's expensive, where moms and dad have to take off time at work, those types of things. So we are currently raising awareness and funds because it takes money to have a building, right? And a couch.
Yeah. And chairs.
And chairs.
And
a
you gotta
desk.
have that coffee maker.
You know it. So we're raising awareness for that. We're going to have a gala this year. We're very excited about that. Black tie gala. So we can raise money in that regard. And then we will have...
when is that going to be?
We are looking at November 4th is the date. So I will make sure that that's everywhere available. And then we will have our 3K again next year with all the support services. So that will be an annual event. And our goal is, the Child Advocacy Resource Center was so excited about this event. They want to plant that same kind of thing in other communities where they bring all these people together. So we're excited about being kind of grassroots for them as well in that project.
Awesome. I want to do that 3K with you guys. So when that comes
So
up
fun.
next year, we'll get that information and make sure.
Are you even going to be able to get that up that early on a Saturday, Jake?
How early does it start?
Well, it's the bell went off at 7:05.
Ooh,
You can do it.
I
normal.
can do it. I can do it.
That's
I
You just
normal
have-
time for me, baby.
You just have to start a second Lent, don't you?
I just might have to stay up all night or something like that.
Oh, pull a Kramer.
The good
That's what
news
Kramer
is that
does.
3K is only 1.82 miles.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So
So-
it's not too bad.
Do we donate for for running and stuff? Like, how some people can run however many miles and you donate $5 for every mile you run.
We
and
haven't
stuff.
done it that way. However, we definitely take donations, right?
Yeah, obviously.
But our mission with this 3K is it's a family fun event, and I'll tell you, it cost us $16,000 to put the event together, and
Wow.
everything was free. So the run was free. There was no cost to the community. We gave away T-shirts. We gave away
Yeah.
amazing barbecue. Did you have the barbecue?
All right.
It was so good. And live music. We had 3 different bands throughout the
Nice.
day. Yeah.
Cool.
And they were top line bands, amazing music. And so our goal with that is to make these awareness events 100% free. So we raise money at our galas and we look for sponsors for those events, but we want the community to come for free. And
Right.
we
Yeah.
want them to know that you're going to get everything. You're going to have fun. You're going to feel like $1 million. You get to get on a Harley,
Nice.
turn it on.
I don't think I've ever revved a Harley, so that would be
it was
fun.
pretty awesome. Yeah. So anyway, our goal is to keep that event 100% free for the community, but use our other times of raising funds to make that happen.
So they might have asked you before, and I might have forgotten, but how did y'all get associated with the bikers again?
So when we started this 3K idea, we reached out to Williamson County Child Advocacy Center, and they said, we've got all these connections. We'll help bring everybody together. So BACA works with Williamson County Child Advocacy Center. Hope Alliance works with them. So we had 10 different resource centers that were there. Yeah.
They even had the local police there,
We
for
did.
their own
Wow.
setup, their own stand and setup.
Nice. Cool.
Yep. We knew that this event was going to cause people to want to share.
Yeah.
You know, we knew that if we had an event, and if we know the statistics, it's 1 in 4 for women, 1 in 12 in men, that there was going to be people that need to talk
Yeah.
to somebody at that event. And so we made sure that we had insulation, right? A lot of support people that were ready, even police on staff in case somebody was like, I need to do a police report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was that turnout as far as for people making connections after the event?
So we, unfortunately, because of laws, we don't get any of that feedback, but we do know that 350 people were there.
Yeah.
So,
It's a great sense of community too.
yeah.
Anything seeing the community get involved since COVID has been great. I feel a lack of community
Right.
over those past few years. So
Yeah.
good to hear that there's people getting out there and supporting their fellow
Absolutely.
man. in the
Yeah. And
community.
you make it free. We show up too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, I know y'all got a bit of a tight schedule today. If y'all would like to leave like 15 minutes early than we originally planned.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure to get to chat with you, and thank you for reaching out to our group. I'm so glad I got to meet you guys.
Yeah, I'm
Definitely.
glad I got to meet you.
So this is, make sure this is the correct website. Is this you guys?
No, I will send you.
Okay, so we'll make sure to put on the stream link.
It's just Break the Silence. That one had 3 more words in it.
Okay.
And this is it's just a straight up local organization. Is that right?
I'll get it to you. But it's
Okay,
Break the
sounds good.
Silence movement, and we're just getting our website done. We
Okay.
are babies.
Well,
We are
exciting.
just getting started.
We're babies too.
Accessibility
We're getting
for
we're,
cause.
we're all getting started together. It looks like.
Yeah. How awesome.
It's good to get involved with this when you guys are getting started. We're happy to be here to help talk about this
Thank you.
cause.
All right. It's good to have y'all here. We'll
Thank
put
you.
this up everywhere we can.
That's right.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for tuning in to.
Oh, I thought we were going to continue with the rest of our show. We can still do some other stuff, like a full 2 hours.
What do you say, audience? Should we go ahead and keep it going for a full 2 hours? Let's put the applause on. All right, the audience says yes, we will. All right, I'm going to put on a quick BRB scene just to say goodbye to our guest today. Be right back.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
You got some strong legs. You must have done the 3K.
No, he held the wall up.
Oh. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing,
you.
for sharing your story. Go in there, continuously peeling out the scab to be able to be truthful, emotional, and everything that it takes to reach people going through that frequency resonance type of situation.
God gives you the grace.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's
thank goodness.
The only way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Thank you. All right. Well.
Thank
we
you.
So you'll get
appreciate
him
it.
the information,
Yes.
and then yes, we'll send you guys the link for the current stream, and then we'll put you guys information on our stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of your show.
Thank you. Will do.
Bye.
All right.
Anybody need anything? Water?
I'm good.
I guess.
I am good.
All right.
I've been trying to do that this whole time.
The more it fades out, you better will get on the.
Jesus. I was wondering how. Okay.
I didn't want to just.
No,
go
it's
in
fine.
there.
I didn't want to because I thought if I did whatever. It's all right. I'm a little
All
stoned.
right. Hey guys. Hey guys.
And we're back.
All right. That was one hell of a conversation. How y'all feeling?
I mean, we got real. We went there.
That was super heady.
I feel good to see people spending that much time, effort in the community. Yeah, like I was saying at the end of that talk, that I feel such a lack of community since 2019, and I've been needing that. I didn't know I really needed it so much until as of recent, and so my heart goes out to those people that are, I don't know, not just having fun on 6th Street and things like that, not
Yeah.
watching TV and arguing at each other on who they think is right and wrong, but more doing things that make a difference.
Mike,
Yes.
same
Sorry.
question.
I was looking at text messages.
How you feeling after that conversation?
It was a good conversation. It was it's fucking difficult conversation to talk about. That is hard to make funny, man. I will say that.
You did one joke, which was you made her laugh.
I made her laugh.
It actually kind of worked.
I was a little concerned at that. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but I was about ready
Well, she was
fuck.
saying how she can see like who's damaged and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, so
Oh, now, yeah,
You
that's
yourself
what you said.
are a
Oh, dear
predator.
God.
but I meant it in a good way.
That's what
I think she laughed, so dude, that was a good joke. I
That sounds
feel.
like it counts. If
and I
you
feel yeah. Well, it worked.
also just to
regardless.
like show we had to get a little just more other humanity in the air, so that we're not just being uptight talking about stuff that's hard for us to, communicate about. So I'm glad we could throw a joke in there too.
Exactly.
What about
Ease
you,
the
Connor?
tension.
Connor, I saw some real stuff come from you. We haven't talked about. Thanks for sharing with our audience some things that are not easy.
It was just, it was like we were saying, reliving some of the stuff that comes up. I mean, like I said, a lot of therapy has helped out over the years, and medication also helps out for the stuff that can't be taken care of with therapy.
Uh-huh.
It's never a cure-all. You can only treat.
No. I don't know if other people feel like this, but there's probably always like, a cloud around, you know what I mean? I think everyone has like a little cloud around their sunshine.
I've always described it like a hurricane, and my meds and the therapy has helped me get to the eye of the hurricane.
So
Do you
that way
stay in the
it's
eye?
cool. Yeah, stay in the eye as long
Just move with the hurricane.
Yeah, just move with the hurricane.
That's where it's all calm.
That's
and
what they
peaceful.
try to do in Perfect Storm.
Anybody seen Twister?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've seen Twister.
Just one time, a long time ago, did not care for it.
You don't like Twister? Bill Paxton is awesome.
Oh, I know
On a movie rampage right now.
I know
I've
Bill
seen-
Paxton is awesome. I've seen his work in
Titanic.
sci-fi.
Titanic is a great movie. He's in
No, I'm thinking of Pullman. I'm thinking of Bill Pullman, not Paxton.
Who's Bill Pullman? Look that up.
You ever seen Spaceballs?
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
god.
Yeah.
The Honey I Shrunk the Kids guy? Oh no, that's
The
Bill
guy from
Pullman.
Casper.
Wow.
The dad from Casper.
That is the guy with the Schwartz. I forgot.
Independence Day, he was the president.
Yeah, he was the
that's right.
president. in
What a
Independence Day.
movie.
That's right. What
Right.
else has he been in?
He's done some.
I'll tell you what. He knows how to pull a man, if you know what I'm saying. Teresa's gun.
I know. I'm fixing.
They're
the
probably
camera.
going to watch this later.
That's
I
right.
know. I haven't said anything bad.
No,
She's a nice lady. I haven't badmouthed her. or anything.
Here we go. We got too many in here.
I was just about to. I mean, you're the one who brought her up, like saying she's gone now. Let's get into the.
Well, he
real
went to
stuff.
the
No, no.
the thing.
No, I was just trying to make. I was going to add our logo
No,
to
no,
this
we're-
little section. Since
Hold on, there's something.
No, I like that.
Oh,
there's
you-
two Jakes.
okay.
We have two Jake cams.
I was trying to put that logo.
I
over
thought
that.
your camera froze for a second there.
I like it. We get two perspectives.
There's the logo.
No, we just get
Are we-
thoughtful Jake just
Are we
glancing
gonna?
off in the distance,
So pensive.
figuring out life.
Sometimes it'd be like.
Are we
that,
gonna do
man.
the AI thing or?
We still got some time.
Okay, as long as I don't like.
So I got a. Mike hasn't seen this yet, but I picked up a poster. Maybe we could have up in the studio.
Oh yeah,
Mike, you're gonna like this
I
one.
saw that. Yeah, that's cool. Did you buy that?
Nope,
Or
they
was
gave
it
it. They just gave it out for free. Hey, Jake, can you do a bit of zoom out on the camera, on my camera, or is it as zoomed out as it can get?
It is as zoomed as it can get, but I can definitely put you up at the front here. There we go. Let's take a look at that.
We might as well just sponsor this show.
Right.
Like we talk about them so much, and we have so many of their guests on.
I have 2 posters of theirs.
Yeah, like this is. I don't under. We should be associated with Waterloo Records in some way, shape, or form.
Oh,
We do so much free advertising for them.
Well, it's gotten us a little bit in return to so they did this remote for the station. Can you get us off of the logo?
I
There
just
we
had to
go.
do
Look at
some
the cat.
editing real
Look
quick.
at that cat.
So they were doing a remote at at Cooper's Barbecue downtown Austin for it was like a little thing for the Kentucky Derby.
When was that?
That was yesterday.
Did you go?
Yeah, they were there from 4 to 6, and the last race was just a few minutes before 6.
That sounds fun.
Oh yeah, it was, and I just completely forgot where I was going with that.
Derby, right? Not roller derby, a different derby.
The one with the horses that cost $10 million a horse and $2 million a year to train and take
That's
care
an
of.
expensive glue.
Oh, the one that the Saudi Arabia, the princes, they go there and buy all the horses.
Or a guy who owns a car dealership. Like Roger Beasley Mazda, basically the owner of Roger Beasley. He had a horse that was supposed to be in the race.
Who's the other guy? Mitt Romney. Doesn't he have a horse?
That was
Guy who ran for president.
no. Their horse was dressage. That was the really fancy stuff where
I like that
it's
name.
about the horse. It's horse dancing.
Oh, by the way, since you talked about this earlier, I figured I'd go ahead and show. You talked about that stare. From,
Oh wait, now I remember where I was going with the Coopers thing.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Cooper.
I actually got recognized by someone. He said he was there for the same event at Cooper's, But he just looked at me and said, like, yeah, I've seen some of your episodes of your podcast. He just recognized me out of nowhere.
What?
Wow, they've watched some episodes.
Yeah, like,
Good for them, man, for watching. I feel like some of our stuff is hard to watch.
well, we're starting to get at least 100 views per episode.
We
And
are?
That's
last
pretty
I
good.
checked, we had 18 subscribers.
I do watch the podcast at least 10 times.
I mean, we can,
I watch it at least 10 times.
And I'm betting, I know I'm one of the subscribers. I mean, are y'all one of the YouTube
Yeah,
subscribers? Okay,
course.
so of course we've inflated our numbers.
and I can go inflate it more too.
BB, I know that.
What?
I forgot what I was saying. Lost my train of thought. Sorry.
I'm gonna go see what our numbers were on. So we have 19 subscribers on the YouTube, and I guess that's the only one that's official for.
Yeah, we're big businessmen now. Look at that. 19 subscribers. When do we get monetized?
Isn't it? Didn't you say it's like 4,000 views is when we get monetized?
I have no
Like monetization. I was looking into it. It's like
I don't do
100
this for the money,
subscribers,
y'all.
a few things.
I
Yeah,
do this for the experience.
That's right. We can do a whole podcast on how do you do a podcast one day when we learn.
That's right.
Mike, I think that's the
Well,
same
anyway.
thing every single intern has ever said.
Intern?
Yeah. You just called yourself the intern of this show.
Oh, yeah.
Can we call him the intern?
We that's his nickname, Intern Mike.
Y'all are getting
Intern,
your own-
you should be doing this.
Get your own coffee.
So
I'll help. I'll press some buttons.
We'll just
do
leave
that
you to
sometime.
handle the TikTok account.
Okay.
I wanted to show you guys this. This was what whenever you said earlier that Mike had the 1,000-yard stare, like since the war. This is what this makes me think of. Here you go. Oh, that's not the right one.
Oh. Oh. I remember. It's like, Billy.
Is it something like that, Michael?
Yeah. I went
You
back
guys
to
are the same person.
Yeah, I went back to Nam.
All right, thank you for that one.
Where did you find that?
I had it in my memory, but you said it, so I was like,
funny.
that's totally the stare that I was thinking of. And here's the Dax guy you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, that's
So
him.
I hadn't heard of Dax before, so
He really started about 5 years ago, a couple of years before the pandemic.
okay.
Or at least that's the best I got from his YouTube channel.
Do you like his stuff? Is it
Yeah,
good?
I'd say he's the only one capable of being the next Eminem.
Whoa. Okay. So he's
Wow.
new.
All right, where are we at?
I just wanted to applaud the quiet.
You know what? It may be 4 minutes early, but we can probably get started on our AI segments.
I think we should consider talking to ChatGPT again sometime.
No,
Ask it some questions.
no.
No, we'll stick with Inspirobot and the question asker.
All right.
Or the random
I bet
This
question
thing is just
generator.
gathering more and more information.
And
from
also,
us.
if there's ever like another one that you guys want to try, I just search AI and then put whatever you say in your mind.
Oh,
So if you have another idea other than question generator and Inspirobot,
my buddy over here yesterday.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was telling me about the image makers,
oh yeah, I got a few of those. Those are fun.
and he was also telling me about like it can make a movie. Like if you type in the right
He's
shit,
played with that stuff.
you can make like films or whatever.
It's crazy.
Oh, wait.
That's ridiculous to make an AI film.
Let's do it.
You're gonna put all of us out of work, guys.
Yeah.
Use
So,
it.
There's gonna be no more original content. There's gonna all that stuff's gonna go away.
So while you're pulling all that up, Jake, that's the writer's strike that's going on right now, the
Oh, yeah.
WGA.
Oh, there's a new writer's
It-
strike.
Oh yeah, it's been like a week or two now. They've been on strike. That was
Who
one of their
who is like all of
Right.
Hollywood or what?
the Writers Guild
Stephen
Association.
Colbert.
Oh, the Writers Guild Association's on
John
strike.
Oliver. Maybe not John Oliver. But
It's-
Stephen
it's-
Colbert.
It's their writers, but so like all
Well, they're in support of their writers who are on strike for one, streaming services have really just cut the pay because a big thing in writers contracts is that residuals or the money they would get from reruns on cable.
So like Friends, the Friends writers are fucking rich. You know what I mean? But like, let's say you make a show with streaming now, you're probably not getting as many residuals because it's all binge worthy.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So people will watch it once, and so you get like this big, large sum of money. Maybe
not even a large
a large sum. But I'm just saying, like, so like with that show Beef, you know what I mean? It'll be like #1 on Netflix for a month, but then it's gonna go down to the bottom again. You know what I mean? So like, all these limited series aren't really ranking in a lot of money for these streaming things, I think.
But also they're cutting out the writers' room. So like the way TV shows used to work, studios and production companies would put a ton of money down into just a pilot episode. Yeah, that's true. Whereas now for a pilot episode or just do a few episodes, it'll be like one person gets like a single paycheck to write something.
Well, a lot of pilots now are being like the people are making them. Like Always Sunny, their first pilot they made themselves, but they were luckily FX picked them up and they got to redo it. But like other shows I know that are getting on like Peacock and whatnot, like they make the pilot themselves and then off that they'll go.
You know, and it is a pretty simple fix when you think about it, because the writers, they don't want to just lose their jobs off of this. Now, I'm not saying AI should be banned from this entirely, but there is a good middle ground to where allow the the studios and the companies to like have an AI, if like print out a script, but have it required to go through actual writers, because this stuff is still like so bad and generic.
It's just smart, right? Like,
but also the content is so bad and generic. Like you have to have someone editing this basically for it to have any quality.
Right.
Go to the Chat GPT thing and tell us to make it a joke. Can we make it tell us a joke?
Yeah,
and
can
we see how funny it is?
It's they've upgraded to GPT-4 now.
Can we give it a prompt?
Great.
They have to use all 3 of our names. What are some things that we can tell it to?
Well, I was just gonna say a joke. Like
make a joke
about radio
about
on the
9/11
TV podcast. No, let's avoid
do
that.
the 9/11 joke.
Let's avoid the 9/11 joke for now.
Why? That's funny. All right, fine. Do an Abraham Lincoln assassination joke. I think enough time's passed for that.
All right.
Okay. You're about to start a whole new thing. You're gonna get canceled for Abraham Lincoln jokes, man.
What? Too soon?
Too soon. No, too soon would be JFK. Apparently,
I don't think that one's too soon, is it?
Dude,
well, they keep pushing back the access of information.
Yeah, they
or whatever.
do. They do.
Biden pushed it in over 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Well, I think there's still people alive from when that investigation happened.
Yeah. So
why can't you be alive?
I'm not gonna get into it.
All right, guys.
Is this Chat GPT-4?
It is something.
Oh, great! It's the
ChatGPT.
devil. I'm sorry, I cannot fulfill your request.
Oh, it's too tragic.
Okay, so they've already put in the.
Okay. So there's a censor. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tell it to make a joke about.
So we're good on the 9/11 front.
Damn it. I have plenty of 9/11 jokes. I can say them.
Okay, I got one.
Look, we don't need a repeat of the Zach episode.
That's not racist.
There you go. Here's a joke. Did you see the prompt?
Sure. Okay. The latest. Okay.
All right,
Someone
who's gonna read it to us?
I have dyslexia. I'm not reading it.
Oh my gosh! Hold on, I gotta add a few things because it's not fitting on screen. Go for it, Connor.
For anyone who's listening to this on the podcast and has no visual, pull it back up. I can't read it now. Chat GPT has made a very generic bad joke. It says, "Did you hear about the latest episode of Radio on the TV podcast with Jacob, Connor, and Michael? Michael and Connor got into a heated argument over who knows more about TV show trivia.
Oh, that's a good one.
Things got so intense that they started throwing punches.
God.
But then Jacob stepped in and said, 'Hey guys, don't fight. Remember, we're all on the same team here.' No, we're a podcast about TV, not a wrestling match. I'm actually starting to believe this. At least Jake's part in this. Michael and Connor realized Jacob was right and apologized to each other. I don't know if I'd apologize to Michael.
Yeah, I've
go.
never heard you apologize for anything.
It's true.
And then they all sat down and talked about their favorite TV shows like civilized podcasters.
That's the only
The
joke
moral
right
of the story, even in the world of TV, it's always better to make peace than to make war.
This isn't a
not a
joke,
joke.
though. It's not a joke. It's just you're just describing a situation.
Tell it to do it in the form of a knock-knock joke.
I guess the joke is us. It's telling us that we're the joke.
Can you do it do the same thing, but...
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
Oh, they didn't like that one. No, don't look at it. Let's do it anyway.
What the fuck, Jake?
What did he say?
Nothing.
He told it to make a joke about your poopy butthole and me cleaning it up.
Okay.
That's not.
You didn't have to say it out loud, guys.
Art doesn't.
Oh, no. You asshole. No. Anyone...
Actually, he's talking about my asshole.
Well, I'm still going to call out Jake for that stupid BS.
I was just seeing if it would do it. Okay, so
it wouldn't let us do an Abraham Lincoln joke.
Art imitates life.
All right, I say we go ahead and pull up Inspire Robot.
Okay,
Oh, great.
here you go. Here's a good one.